Good morning, and welcome to the $1 Million Mondays call, where we provide all things inspiration, motivation, education, as well as information on real estate. I believe that we learn best in community. And so we started these calls so we can bring in our special guests. We have an amazing network here at Recharge. We want to make sure that we're inspiring, but not just inspiring, but also giving our agents edible information that they can actually execute on and take back into their businesses. And so today we have a special guest with us that I'm going to introduce to you all, Mrs. Sarah Ware. I've had the pleasure of knowing Miss Sarah Ware for the last 20 years. She's very instrumental at the beginning of my career as I transitioned from one brokerage into creating what was then Chicago Homes Realty Group, which is now Recharge. And one thing I can definitely say about Sarah is that she has been the most consistent person that I've known in real estate, extremely consistent, and has been the same individual throughout her entire career, which I think makes her very unique. Sarah is the principal and designated managing broker at Ware Realty Group. She is a housing issues liaison for the National Association of Realtors. She is the immediate past president, 2024 immediate past president of the Chicago Association of Realtors as well. Sarah has headed up a team specializing in residential, commercial, sales and leasing, property management, market research, and development. With over 20 years of real estate success, Sarah has mastered creative sales techniques, innovative marketing strategies, and understanding the local housing market. As a result of her work ethic, expertise of the real estate market, and entrepreneurial spirit, Sarah has been featured in the Chicago Sun-Times, Crane's Business Chicago, the Chicago Magazine, and she's been featured on CBS News, just to name a few. So many other features where she has been featured. Ware Realty Group is a certified MBE, which is a minority owned business enterprise, as well as a WBE, which is a woman owned business enterprise by the city of Chicago. Also, DBE for disadvantaged business enterprises with the Illinois Department of Transportation, and BEP with the state of Illinois as a woman and minority owned business enterprise. So we can go on and on talking about Sarah and her resume because it is stellar. She's accomplished a ton in her 20 years in real estate, but I'm going to bring her on to share more around her transition from residential into commercial and kind of what that experience has been like. And then she's going to leave you guys with some gems that you all can take away in your business as well. So welcome, Sarah, to the stage, to the platform.
That was a lot. I was like, oh, who is that? Who is that?
That is you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me this morning.
Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being with us. Have we missed anything that we should have shared with the audience about Sarah?
Well, I am even though I deal with a lot of people, I like being by myself mostly, especially Netflix. I have two nephews that I love dearly, and I'm trying to do more things to be with them, free up my time. And I'm an Orange Theory person. I know you kind of had a little love-hate relationship with them at one point in time, but I do things. I am not motivated by money. I like making money, but the things that I do is first and foremost, it's not motivated by money because I know the stuff that I do, the money will come. So, I mean, I think that's where a lot of people miss because, as you know, as an entrepreneur, there'll be times that you will not make any money in putting in forth an effort, but you do the things that you love that kind of moves your heart because eventually it will be moved in your pocket. And I truly believe that.
So it sounds like versus being motivated by money, you're motivated by purpose.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Motivated by purpose because I mean, I've been on both sides. I've seen people motivated by money, and there's nothing against that, nothing against them. But I think the state that I'm in and how I move around, I've always been fortunate to make money at some point in time to sustain myself. I've been an entrepreneur away from corporate America since 2007 when I quit my corporate job, which was a big step. And it was before the internet days and before all the social media where you had to have marketing and a brick and mortar to kind of really survive. But now it's almost where you can have a business online in the cloud, do very well, and still learning and still be respected as a business entrepreneur.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk a little bit about your transition from residential real estate into commercial real estate. So I know as a real estate broker, we tend to wear multiple hats. We do property
Yes.
management and a number of things.
Yes.
But I wanted to focus on that a little bit because a lot of my agents often ask, how do you transition into commercial? And I know my journey wasn't necessarily a textbook, answer to that, right? It was
Right.
just organic.
Right.
You start working with clients. We started doing property management, and then as I look up, we're selling, multi 30-unit buildings. What was that transition like for you? How did it first start, and then how did you start to hone that business and turn it into an actual business?
Well, my background, I used to work for a commercial real estate firm in corporate America. So I got my license and it was with a firm called US Equities. I was there doing admin work, working with brokers, doing deals for them as my 9 to 5 job. I never thought about getting my license, never thought about real estate as a business for myself or even from an entrepreneur standpoint, because I do not come from a history of entrepreneurs of that nature. So in 1997, working at the firm, I ended up getting my license because I saw deals they were working on, especially on the South Side as a South Sider. And they would always come back because the team I was on, they were in a lot of office and the retail sector. So they would go, as you know, sometimes as a South Side, wherever you live, where it's not in the downtown market, they say, well, we can't bring these high-end stores or these stores to the community because the demographics don't match or the people are not going to buy. And then the corporate says this and says that. And as we know, when you're in communities, especially communities of color, you have to be in the community, talk to the people as opposed to just relying on statistics. So fast forward, I kept asking them to say, hey, because they had the land at the 95th and Stony Island complex where I don't know if you remember when it was a Starbucks there. We put all these, so the owner had that land, and actually it goes further back past the viaduct. He never developed it. I think he sold that piece of land. So and then he was getting people that wanted to do beauty supply stores, sporting goods stores, and restaurants, like fast food type restaurants. And so he was like, Sarah, bring me some other people, and I saw that, it was the need was there, and we are consumers as a people. But the numbers didn't show that. And so when I started diving into the community, bringing stats and bringing other information from community outreach, I was like, see, here's what we want. We want the gaps. We want the Ann Taylors. We want all this. And they ended up not really listening to that. So then I got the bug of residential. So I said, let me just see if I could do this. And they were all like, oh my God, what are you doing going to sell residential? That's crazy, because they were all commercial brokers. And you probably get this question a lot, and people think there's a different license to sell commercials, which is crazy to me. It's the same license. And I think as we sit as designated managing brokers, we often have more experience because most of them just have a salesperson or broker's license now. They don't have the designated managing broker, the CBREs, the JLLs. And so I think people get intimidated because because they talk louder, they're more aggressive. I'm like, you know way more than they do. So I stepped out, started my business with a partner in 2007. Was really just residential, some property management. We did some stuff with the city because I was certified when I got there. And my certification came about because I actually used to work for a certification firm that was Asian right before my commercial firm. So people I knew all that because I did it for my boss, and I saw how he built the business. He used to work for Mayor Daley, and I saw how politically connected he was, Gary Chico and all that, with all those names, and how he was very active. And so both my bosses were very active outside of real estate, because I used to always be like, man, they go to work all day and they go to all these meetings. I was like, now that is me. And I'm like,
I was about to say, now that is your life.
That is my life. Your life too, because I actually saw you on Saturday driving away. I said, she up driving, I'll be dropping off something for this fair. Then I saw you, you all at a fair this week. And I was just like, that's just what we do. But fast forward, when I saw how he built his business he's Asian. He built his business. Now his daughter has taken over. They have he's construction management. He's built a multi-million-dollar business and further generational wealth. So as I was doing residential, I was like, okay, and I would talk to a lot of agents in the business, and they never had a long-term goal, a long-term strategy. A lot of them, and they just want to sell, make money, and nothing's wrong with that. So I was looking at more of, as I get older, how do I divide up my time? And as you know, when you start traveling, when somebody calling you to see a property, girl, what? I'm gone. I'm out. Because I know when I got to learn from you. Because I know when you out, you out. You like, I'm out. So I haven't really mastered that yet. So I want to more of taking my time back and doing more strategic work. So as I worked more on commercial deals, it was more about strategy, involving the community, involving political elected officials, nonprofits, and you putting together a strategic plan. Or you are, when you're working with the landlord, when you're working with multifamily, it's always a conversation. It's not about, let me see this property. It's all about the numbers, and then you having a conversation to set that up. So I saw that as a way of, wow, you know what? I make more money. I like it. And then I was doing both at the same time. As I was doing both, my time just got constrained doing residential. And my heart wasn't in it as much, because if somebody called, can I see this property tomorrow? That just was not how because I look at my calendar and it's set. My calendar is set. And I don't like to kind of veer away from that within a less than 24-hour period. I mean, we do have times that people get in your calendar. Then I don't have children, but I have 2 nephews that were getting older. They have games. They had things that I want to be involved in. That was just something, a personal goal. And then I just wanted to be travel more and just do things from a personal basis. And so as I was doing that, I reached out to a couple of mentors. Some of them I used to work in commercial real estate, and then I started doing that more. And so CBRE ended up buying the company I work for. So I knew the brokers there. I knew they had a division that was government related. So I got certified. So now they don't even go after any other certification. If my scope fits into their work, they are my largest client. JLL is starting to be a larger client. And as I'm working with them more, I'm able to plan more work on more strategic deals, and just give up residential as a whole. So now I don't do any I refer that out, and I tell agents it's okay to refer. Like, it's not a bad word. You can do it. Trust me, you can do it. Because I don't have a residential team. I know you have a residential team that you can refer to your agents. I do not have that. And I made that choice. I go back and forth and say, do I want to start up a residential team? But, I just have to figure that out. But I'm okay with referring right now.
Let me ask you this. So I know we tend to vacillate back and forth. I love how you said, your license is a real estate license. It's not a residential license. It's not a commercial license. So you do have the ability to do both or either, and I sometimes take residential clients based on relationship, but I do tend to refer them out to the agents and give them opportunities. But from a certification standpoint, I heard you mention a few times that you got your certification. So you have your MBE, your WBE, DBE, and then BEP certifications. What has been the biggest opportunity that you've seen come from having those certifications and having the courage, I would say, to step into the commercial space? Because it can be very intimidating. You got all these name companies and they have all of the manpower, and you're like, oh, it's just little old me. So what does it look like for you to kind of step into that space, show up for yourself, and then what was the opportunity that kind of came from doing that?
So like you said, it's just me. And sometimes as a smaller company, I tend to be like, ooh, they're too big. But I have learned over time. Well, I've been grateful for the companies that I've partnered with. And what I've learned is I show my need. Yes, they need the certification. Yes, but they can work with any other firm. It's hundreds of firms that are certified that they can work with. But I show my need. Sorry for that background noise. Doing this, I actually look for contracts, and I look for contracts where it may have, this is some real estate, a brokerage contract, but our value is as a company or as an agent, we have access to data Sorry about that.
The joys of living in the city.
All right, yeah. Live, we got our wake up call. So the uh the biggest thing that I tell people, like, oh, I want to do commercial, I want to do this, and they go out and expect to go to a networking event, meet a commercial agent, and get a big deal. This is, you put in your work over time, develop relationships. But I would say for me, as residential agents, we are armed with so much data, so much information that the commercial brokers do not know. They love my information. When I tell you, they like say, hey, Sarah, can you run this report? Hey, Sarah, can you give me the data? Because the housing data is what they need for commercial to kind of give them what it is. So I would tell them, develop a relationship with a commercial agent, or just go to a couple of organization or some networking events, and then you talk to somebody and say, hey, you know what, I can run that report for you. We do it all the time for CMAs. And so for me, CMAs are market studies. So I do a lot of market reports for clients. I was just on a project, the 95th Street Red Line Extension. I grew up in Pullman. So they've been talking about that since I was a little girl. My uncle used to work for CTA and used to run the 95th Street station. So what they needed was housing data from 95th Street to 130th, and they wanted to know what type of housing and what the numbers were in that area. And then that the Cook County Land Bank or development, they wanted to know what type of rehabs were going on, what type of pricing were they getting, and so they wanted to know what the opportunity was. So I think we have, instead of them saying they need us, you need them, you have to position yourself to say they need us, actually, because you can position yourself to say, you know what, hey, can we partner on this? Because in this area, da 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 da, or because of this, oh, well, that's interesting in the retail the retail market on 79th Street. There's a lot of retailers that need X, Y, Z. So I think you should position yourself as to be the market expert. So you can take whatever neighborhoods you're in and just show the data, kind of market it to them. And we know that there's a lack of African Americans, especially, and women in that industry. And so I think, try to develop relationships and things like that with data that can support them, because they're going to look at you like, why do I need you? And that's kind of that may be one of the entries to working with them.
I love that. So it sounds like one of the ways that you build your own credibility, you attend these meetings, you show up, and then you present yourself to say, hey, I can provide a solution to that problem. You need data. I provide data to my clients all the time. So it sounds like the mindset, talk about the mindset of a commercial broker versus a residential broker. Because I know in residential, we're kind of waiting for something to happen, someone to kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, I want to see this house, or I want to buy a home. Commercial, it seems like you got to be a little bit more proactive, more engaged, coming to meetings in the community. What does that look like as an agent is looking to transition into that space? How do they really show their credibility, and how do they really assert themselves as a commercial agent?
Well, I like what you were talking about, how to be, proactive and things like that, but you also have to be strategic. So I'm pretty strategic just as a whole. People be like, Sarah's strategic, because they know if I'm going to a networking event, I have looked at who's going to be there, or maybe one or two people, try to position myself. And then even if I don't meet them or don't get what I want, I have laid the groundwork and say, oh, I know so-and-so. People that you follow on social media, if they mention a conference, I may be at that conference. Like, oh, that's that conference that she was talking about. That's somebody that they don't know it. They my mentor in my head, so I'll be there. But I think you need to be very strategic about your time and your money, because those are two things that are very important when you are growing your professional development. And sometimes, even if you don't have money, okay, how can I get into this conference? Many a times I have looked on the sponsorship level and say, who do I know at these companies? Like, hey, if somebody got an extra ticket. Or that is another reason that I volunteer with a lot of organizations, because one organization that I'm a part of, CREW, Commercial Real Estate for Executive Women, I have been going. I joined this year as a member, But I was on a panel and they were asking, like, for smaller brokerages, what is it that you kind of would wish? And I said, well, a lot of these corporations, they'll buy a table. And have you been to an event where you paid your money and you see empty tables? And I'm like, man, they could have just gave me that ticket. And so when I said that, they call me all the time. Hey, Sarah, we got an extra ticket. It was like a multi-family conference. And sometimes, I mean, most of these conferences I've never heard of. But put yourself out there. I'm an introvert by nature, but I'm forced to put myself out there. But I've been very strategic. Sometimes you come up a dud, sometimes it's not. But I will say I always walk away with something, some nugget that I can apply to myself in life or in business. But and I know this is the old saying, who you hang around. Who you hang around, I am not kidding you. It is so important. People always say that cliche because people will get you. They set your mindset and your energy. Because I wasn't really a big energy person, but lately I'd be like, ooh, their energy is off. Let me move in this direction. Or I don't feel, we're not talking in the same mindset level. And they don't have to be on your level, but I know when you make a goal and you set your mind to something, you want people to be around it to kind of nurture that with you and kind of help you along to kind of further your goals.
I love that. I'm a big energy person. Oftentimes the energy in the room will speak louder than the voices in the room. And you can kind of tell right off the bat, you know what, something isn't quite right. It just doesn't feel really good in this space. Before we wrap up, we're kind of getting to the end of our segment. Let's talk a little bit about how you've had to overcome some challenges in the commercial real estate space. As some may know, these deals may take significantly longer, right? Residential, you're in and out in 45, 60, maybe 90 days. You have a bad deal, maybe it takes an extra 30 days. Commercial, we're talking 12 months, 18 months, and how are you managing that transaction cycle of a commercial transaction? Is there a lot of activity required from you? Are you just kind of waiting? Obviously the reward at the end is probably worth the wait, but what does that look like as you're managing the process? What is the timeline for one that you've seen, and then what are you doing as you're managing that process?
So it's funny that you say that. It's one deal that I was working on. I literally just got a deposit and it was from 2022. It was a deal like some of them could take 2.5, 3 years. And so that was why I was doing residential still to kind of, manage that process. And so when I got to I'm very budget. That's just been my life because I've been broke. So, I know what it feels to be broke and I know what it feels to not be broken. So I like to not be broke better. So what I did was I had made a commitment to myself. I sat down, made a plan, and I was just working like just taking all deals. And so when I said I'll just have enough money to have made a salary, set my salary, made a salary and said, okay, I will have this as a salary. Talked to my accountant, put myself on payroll. I was terrified to do that. I tell people, and now I can't believe I live without it. So I try to work myself up into a salary where it doesn't matter what I get paid because I'm getting paid a salary per month. And so after doing that, so when I have a deal, I'm very mindful of it has to last XYZ. I like to work with a certain amount of months or years as far as rolling capital to pay myself and my team. And just knowing your numbers in and out and keeping your debt low. I don't care how, I am the sole owner of my business and I'm the sole owner of my household. So I don't have any other joint households. And I'm not saying that to be like, if you have joint, it's better, but I'm just saying everything falls on me. But then sometimes people say, if you have a spouse or a partner, that's double the bills. But I just say, just make sure you have a hold on your finances, because there was a time when I had a huge tax bill. Like, at the end of the year, I would go do my taxes. I'm like, who made that money? Who made all that? Where is that money? I don't know where it is. And so I had a very large tax bill, and I had to work about maybe 2 to 3 years to really pay that off, making IRS payments. And then from that, just talking to mentors and understanding financial, it was like I started with something small. Like, let me pay myself $1,000. Let me pay myself. Is that my background?
I think that was my phone.
Okay. I'm hearing some stuff. So it was more about taking control of my finances. Okay. It was more about taking control of my finances from a operation standpoint, and then I was able to set up things for, like, I came from corporate, so I was used to having a retirement fund. I hadn't really contributed as I wanted to mine. Ended up having creating an IRA, and I think I'm more excited about having a control of my finances as a business owner. So it's allowed me to dabble into other things, and so now, yes, commercial real estate, but now I'm thinking of something else that's kind of a passion project of mine. That, yes, it's real estate has fed it, but it's more of a personal project. So I'm hoping to kind of do that for next year. But I will say, people, I'm like, you realize how much you can live on or off when you working for yourself, and just having that mindset. I'm a pay my bills and have a budget for my personal and my business.
I love that. And I love how transparent you are, because as an entrepreneur, you definitely have to keep tabs and keep a hold on the revenue that's coming in as well as the money that's going out. Because oftentimes the money that's going out is going out faster than the money that can be problematic with that continuing. One of my favorite quotes from Muhammad Ali is, "The will must be stronger than the steel." And I feel like that resonates extremely loud in real estate. You can be very skilled. You can be very good at what you do. But I think when it comes to breaking into a new set of the industry, specifically transitioning from residential to commercial, you got to have the will, right? You got to have the will to and the tenacity to be consistent, see it through, and show up time after time, and not expect, you're going to get this one magical deal. It's going to probably take multiple transactions and multiple transitions even. I remember, our story as we were transitioned to working with institutional clients. I remember specifically going to one of these holiday party type of events, and we couldn't get a second look. People were kind of like, "Who are you?" Oh, okay. And then you just keep showing up, and not just a holiday party. They have another event, and they have a this, and they have that. And meeting people. This is a relationship based business. People work with who they like and who they trust. And so I believe that over time, that yields fruit. So if you could give any final advice to the agent that'll hear this call, in terms of transitioning into commercial, or just any advice out of your 20-year tenure in real estate, what would that be for the newer agent? Even if you have agents that have been doing real estate for years that haven't broken into the commercial sector, if that was a desire again. So just any advice that you could give an agent looking to take their business to the next level.
So I would say make sure you work on your mindset, because mindset is everything. And I still work on it, because oftentimes we can think of the greatest ideas and have the greatest plans, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but we allow our mind to talk us in it and talk us out of it. Like you were saying, commercial, like you see, you went to this thing, and in commercial, the big thing is they'll start a conversation of, what school did you go to? So I didn't graduate from college. I just graduated 2 years ago, but coming in, I went to high school, then so I was found myself, I had to develop a practice. Because I'm like, well, I went to hair Washington, and then I'm like, girl, what? What is you doing? Why are you embarrassed about that? So I would just have to develop that and try to stop the negative mindset and the negative self-talk that's coming from within, and just kind of, go through in the morning, whatever you have from a routine standpoint, just keep doing it, keep going at it. And everything is not a microwave what will happen overnight. If it's something that you truly, truly want, you work at it and it will come there. And I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of who you know, and that's okay. The more people you see, the more people you know. So I would say keep at it and have a plan that's longer than 30 days, because it's going to take longer than that. But the rewards, and then if it doesn't work, start something else. Like, it's okay. Like, that may not be for you. You may not even like it, and that's okay. But start something else, because I don't think it's too late.
Mark asks, how do you monetize your services? And that's a really good question because we are entrepreneurs and you got to kind of create your own service, your own model, if you will. So without getting specific, how would you give advice to an agent around monetizing their service?
So the brokerage side, you know, just talking to my mentors, that was one thing that I did like about being certified because I get to work with these large corporations and I have allies over there that tell me. So they have percentages, and you will be shocked to know that it's so far above what we do in residential, girl, as you know. And then from a standpoint, I have an hourly rate. So when I first started, they were like, "Oh, this hour," like I would literally put in a bill, and they was like, "That's not enough. We can't put our bill in, and your bill be this." So they started coaching me on how to make my hourly rate, and I'm like, "Oh," and they was like, "Yeah, this is yeah," and they were always like, "Okay, you can bill for your rate and then bill for an admin. Even if you're doing that work, make sure you have at least 2 people." So those little nuggets that they gave me, but it would be like hilarious. They would literally kick that back, like, because I saw what they were billing, and so they kind of shared with me their billing rates and things like that, and so that kind of helped me structure my rates.
You're right. On the residential side, we're used to trying to keep things in certain parameters, but on the commercial side, it's like, that's not enough.
That's not enough, and I'm not paying, and we're not bringing our clients back. What?
It's encouraged on that. It's almost expected that you charge your work, right? Because you're doing this work, so whether that's hourly tabs or, accounting work or
right. I mean, they charge for everything like an attorney. They that was nothing I learned how to value my time. That was huge. I thought it was one value, and they were like, I mean, it was kicked back by more than one company. So when it got recurring, I was like, what? They were like, you are not charging enough. And one of them was gracious enough to sit me down and walk through. No, honey, you can't do. I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah, I've learned how to create that invoice very well. The last question that we have is, do any of your commercial deals have tails, meaning residual? So residual from leases or sales, are there any that continues on after the deal is over?
So no, because since mine is more government, I can't really be in the deal. I can't even represent anybody outside of that. So the only thing from a leasing standpoint, like sales, well, some deals they close and the government may not pay you right away because they may have whatever they have going on with their budget. And then from a leasing standpoint, we usually paid half on signing, and then when they move in, we pay the other half. But as far as residuals that we get, once the deal is done, it is done. And we may go back to them, and like if the lease is a 5-year lease, that client we may have end up servicing that client again in the next 5 years and redoing that. But that is most contracts with government master contract lasts for 5 years. So I have done deals, like I'm doing a deal with Cook County now. We did some deals 5 years ago, but that's because I happen to be on the contract again with another company, actually.
Okay.
I hope that answers his question.
I hope so as well. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate you being with us. I saw the other day you did a presentation on your business.
So AI is because people that, just to be clear, if you want to get in commercial, it's going to cost. Like I pay $600 a month for CoStar. So people are complaining about all types of payments and all types of stuff. So I pay for CoStar, I pay for organizations I belong to. And so what I've done with AI, I was selling land for the city. And what I did was put in different mock-ups. I'll put it in chat, like Dolly. I'm not Mid-Journey. I'm not super in that space. But I would just put like, hey, can you put a fast food restaurant? The lot is about this size. I want to do XYZ. And it'll come up with something. Then in Inglewood, there was a building they wanted to reimagine with like a 4-story, but like they'll give you some specifics and you can put it in there. And people, even though if it's not the building they want to see, they create a visual. So I encourage people to use it for that. And I also use it for descriptions. So I'm leasing some space for a building. They gave me I got some history. And so ChatGPT pulled up the history. And that is where I think we prevail when it comes to our residential. commercial brokers, they barely put description. You don't know what they're talking about, but mine are very thorough. So I've used that for descriptions, but the bigger thing is for those pictures when you help visualize. Or I have a 2,000 square foot space, upload the floor plan, and they'll kind of give you some idea, because a lot of clients don't have that. They don't want to spend the money for an architect, or at least get them started on what this could look like. So I use it a lot for that, and I think I encourage people to use it for that as well. But I do pay for the $20 a month Chat GPT. I don't know if that makes a difference, but I just always try to tell people that I do pay for it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to give up some virtual claps and virtual snaps from Ms. Sarah Ware. Thank you so much for being with us. If we have any additional questions that come out of today's communication, how can people get in touch with you if you want them to get in touch with you?
No. I am LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn as Sarah Ware of the Ware Realty Group, and I'm also on Instagram, Ware Sarah. There's a lot of Sarah Wares out there, so I use my middle initials that I found out. So Ware Sarah L on Instagram, but just search me. I am on all platforms, but LinkedIn and Instagram are the two that I am on the most.
Awesome. Thank you for being with us, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. What an awesome call, awesome conversation with the amazing Sarah Ware. It is so important, the people who you surround yourself with, the people who you invite into your space. I truly believe that iron sharpens iron, and we can learn from our peers. There's so much information, and oftentimes it's so much more rewarding and even enlightening to learn from someone who's done it before you, who's come before you, and kind of paved that trail. And so I'm so grateful for people like Sarah. I wanted to share a quote which goes right into what she mentioned earlier around the people you surround yourself with. I actually got this today from my partner from California, one of our good friends, who sends me Motivational Monday stuff every week. And so this is right on time. And it says, remember, the people you surround yourself with can impact your energy and mindset. Be mindful of those who bring negativity. Protect your peace and focus on those who uplift and inspire you. Let's make it a positive week. So I will leave you on that note. Let's make it a positive week. Let's make it a $1 Million Monday. Thanks for tuning in with me.